have a look in my box of junk here. As you can see, it's a few computer parts. What do we got? Sticks of desktop, PC memory, some old laptop memory, not sure where it comes from, USB dongle, and exactly what I'm looking for. Hopefully you recognise this. CPU, Central Processing Unit. Now this is the subject of today's quick video. A CPU, otherwise known as a microprocessor, not microcontroller, microprocessor. Remember, Central Processing Unit. This is a microprocessor. Now, a microprocessor is obviously central to a computer, and without a computer it won't work. But more than that, without the computer it won't work. A CPU is just literally the brains of the computer, or the thinking part of the computer, but in itself it doesn't have the memory and it doesn't have the peripherals, the things it needs to do input and output. It's just central, okay? Nothing peripheral about it at all. Now that contrasts quite significantly from the stuff in this box. These are microcontrollers. So they're in a way similar to a microprocessor, which can process data, but a microcontroller can process and it can remember things because it's got its own memory, it's got RAM and ROM, and also it's got peripherals, it's got inputs and outputs. So if you look at this very big micro controller here, it's got lots and lots of pins. Now each of the pins is going to serve a particular function, or maybe a range of functions, but they're also going to allow us to have input and output from this. And that may be digital, most likely digital, but some of these may also support analog. Now, here's a product I made earlier, well actually last year, and it uses, let's see if we can find it, this little black thing. And that, as you hopefully remember, is a microcontroller. What does a microcontroller do? It controls a device, and I've programmed it to do a very, very simple and limited function, just flashing some LEDs on and off. So those are the outputs, and the microcontroller has peripherals, input and output ports, which allow it to do the controlling of the flashing of the LEDs and responding to the switch. As you may have guessed it by this point now, a microcontroller is used to control things and often serves a very, very limited function. If you contrast that to a microprocessor, remember CPU, Central Processing Unit. A Central Processing Unit is central to a computer system. It can do a vast array of things if it has the right instructions, but it can only do those if you also include separate memory, separate mainboard, and a load of other stuff besides. So remember, the CPU is an important part of a computer system, but if you just want a very simple, maybe a dedicated device that's going to be controlled by a microcontroller, such as a microwave, air conditioning, or maybe a clock, you would expect, well, what would you expect? Would you expect a very powerful microprocessor? Or would you expect a more simple and dedicated integrated circuit, such as one of these, which is a microcontroller, which could control the clock and do the functions of a clock? Now, a microcontroller is often regarded as an embedded device. An embedded device is placed in a product. Imagine that's my product, and it's placed in that product, and as it's not going to come out, it's now embedded. That is now an embedded microcontroller. It's going to stay in the product for the life of the product. Most likely it's never going to be upgraded. You're never going to change the software. It's staying in there. it's embedded, it's staying in there. Okay, so if you get an exam question and they're asking you about a system which is going to have an embedded microcontroller, think about where you would need to have an integrated circuit that's going to perform a specific function in a product and is not going to come out again. Like a clock, maybe a remote control, maybe a calculator, maybe a DIY taser machine. Whatever it happens to be, something which is going to perform a specific function and is unlikely to be changed again. Okay, that's it for my video. I hope it's helpful.